Alright, we're back on at 4.8. Started on the heads. I'd like to get them on today. I don't know if I'll be able to, but kind of want to show you what I was doing. I'm not going to show you every one of them. I may show you one, but I've got one of them apart. I wanted to show you pulling the valve, or pulling the spring, and then changing the actual, well, they're just basically seals, or oil seals that go between the valve. You know, it goes under the spring, but the spring has really nothing to do. It sits on top, kind of holds it in place. But well, maybe it's supposed to. This is how this one come apart. Now this is a factory one. I don't know if that's supposed to do that or not, because the new ones, I mean, actually say exhaust intake. There's even different part numbers, so keep that in mind. The one I've got apart is an intake. You can tell. Well, I can tell from underneath, but I actually pulled the valve, and intake valve is almost always bigger than the exhaust. Anyway, intake, you can actually see the runner kind of lines up right there with that valve, and the exhaust obviously lines up. This is your exhaust. This is your exhaust port. I mean, they are definitely in a line, so you can't really mess it up. But if you get in a hurry, don't pay attention. You can, you know, I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if there's something specific in there that's, I imagine it's something in that rubber or whatever that is in there. So anyway, I'm going to put one of them on there and put this back together to kind of show you. But I wanted to show you what I did. Each one of these heads I put in here, put one spark plug in, and then poured just diesel fuel on top of each cylinder to hold it. And that's, believe it or not, you can see there's a gap on this side. It doesn't look like there's anything, you know, over there, but it's actually level right here. I mean, it'll come out. You can see that. I mean, it's level full. And I usually set about 30 minutes or so, and that seems to take care of finding out if the actual valves leak past the seats. Because if they do that, you either need to lap them in or take them to a machine shop or get another set. I mean, I guess you have lots of options, but don't let them go that way. Especially if it's one or two, or even all the cylinders are leaking by either intake or exhaust. It doesn't make any difference. You end up, you're losing compression. You're allowing, when you shut it off, the gasoline and stuff, you know, it already runs down into the cylinder on the valves, the intake valves that are open. But if they're all somewhat open, I guess you want to say, everything that's got gas will bleed off. I mean, I know the fuel injection is a little different than the old carbureted ones, but it's not hard to fill your crankcase up with gasoline. And plus, it doesn't have compression, doesn't have the power, it runs crappier, it gets worse gas mileage, especially if it's fuel injected. If your valves are leaking by, I mean, the computer senses that it's not getting enough fuel or it's getting too much fuel, and it'll actually change. It changes the way it runs all the way around. So I'm checking every one of them. This head's already done. I've cleaned it up already. I've already cleaned the rockers up. The rails are getting done now. This is the one side I haven't done. You can actually see, I know I'm kind of moving this around a lot. You can actually see the difference of getting the oil and carbon and stuff cleaned out of them. So anyway, I'm going to put them together and whatnot. And then I've got I've got the lifters in. I don't have them all in. I was going to show you. I don't have the bolts tight, but I do have the lifters in. And this is how they go in these pockets. So you can actually, yeah, I'm not holding anything on that, and they're not like jammed in there with grease or anything. They're just in there with plastic, whatever that thing is, and that's what holds them in. I've been putting just a little oil on them and sliding them in. I'll tighten everything up. You cannot forget to put those lifters in prior to starting to put the heads on, because you cannot get these in once the heads are on. You have to pull the head back off. So do not forget to stick those lifters in. That's why I kind of started doing that. Anyway, I'm going to oil them up and put the rest of them in and tighten them down. That way that's done. And then I'm going to go to that head and finish it up and then go to the other one. That's why I don't think I'm going to get it on today, the heads, just for the simple fact that I have a lot to do. I still got a lot of cleaning to do. I'm going to set you on a tripod though on the rest of this. And sorry guys, I'm going to put it on the wrong side first. Okay. So anyway, I thought I would kind of give you an idea of how this goes together. It's probably not the best, but all right. Now the first thing is we can't forget to put the valve back in. I actually took it out, looked at the seat, and looked to see if there was any carbon. anywhere. And like I said, I had diesel on this for several minutes, for like at least 25-30 minutes on each cylinder with a spark plug in it. And I just shoved that right in the garbage. Now, I've already cleaned the seats up down here too. You can tell it's good and tight when it's got a certain sound to it, I guess. That may not, the valve may not stay up, so I'm pulling out the edge of the table a little bit because you can actually see it's not staying up. I told you this is intake side, so we're going to open this up and stick an intake. And I'm keeping them in the bags. I'm not dumping them all out. That way I don't forget what I'm doing. See, these are one piece. And I don't know if that was supposed to be this way or not. Whether that broke or whether the original ones. I think I'd rather have the one piece, and the reason why is because the spring then sits on that and holds that down. I think the spring holds it down. Yeah. That way there's no way that thing can ride up and down and allow oil to get underneath it when you shut it off. Anyway. That should hold. Yep, it's pushed down all the way over, and it should hold that up. I'll show you kind of how this deal here works. It's not my favorite tool as far as spring compressors go, but it's the one I have. Somebody's over there cutting some wood somewhere. I got the garage cleaned up the other day. I didn't make any videos of it afterwards, but I was actually able to have my wife's car in there until this morning, before she went to work. Today's Monday. And it's kind of nice to have a car because the weather's been really crappy. We went from winter to a couple of days of spring. I told you about this. Then it went to, and I'm sure you guys are having the same issues wherever you're at. And then it went to back to garbage. Now, I was told never to do this, but I've always done it. I just want to make sure that those they're not going to fly apart and kill somebody or drop the valve in the engine when it's running. So, all right, intake's done on this one. And this is the passenger side head. And I'll show you how I know that here in just a minute. All right, this thing does. It's got two tongs. Those go in your spring, and they're offset for a reason, because your spring is coiled, so it's not, it's not a flat surface. It's actually, so figure out which way this is high and low, which should be the same. Snap that in there, and then it has this piece up here. Make sure that thing's pushed in there and square, and it wasn't snapped in. And start running it down. And what I found on this other one, on the intake, was that the head, the valve actually stuck up on top. And so I end up having to tap that down. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It looks like this is doing the same thing. Don't let this thing get away from you. Don't do it by anything that you really like. Okay, what's happening is I can move the valve now, but it's not released from the keeper. So give it a little tap with a hammer. Usually you got to hold up on it when you do that. Yep, and it fell on its own. Get something with a magnet on the end. I do not have one of those little telescopic deal with a magnet, or if I do, I can't remember buying it. This thing has a magnet on it, and what I'm doing, see what you're looking at here. You're looking at a big fat nothing. I'm going to pull you off here and show you what I'm pulling off. And once that thing is compressed, these keepers are now loose. Don't get your fingers in there though. That's what you see how loose that is there? What that does, I'm going to go to the back side because that's where the pressure is. Bring the magnet in, and it pulls these keepers out. And that's what holds the valve, just one on each side. Spring and valve together. And it won't let go because there's too much pressure on this side. As soon as I pull this back a little bit, it came right out. Once you do that, thing pulls straight up. You can see what kind of deforms that spring, so don't leave it sit overnight like it's all deformed. And push it, set it in such a way that if it flies apart, the thing isn't going to hit you somewhere you don't want it to hit, because this table's right at that level. Alright, we're going to go back to kind of doing this. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, I'm just going to show you this one, kind of how it comes apart. And some jerk with a horn. I'm going to pull this exhaust valve. You probably won't be able to see me do it. The reason I'm doing it is I'm checking to see how much carbon buildup is in the actual, looking at the stem, then I'm looking at the carbon buildup, not only on the valve. Yeah, it is kind of ugly, I'm not going to lie. but these things are hard. You know, all this new stuff was meant to run a lot hotter because of the garbage gas they give us now with ethanol in it, which, like I said, here where I live, we still have several gas stations that don't have any alcohol in the gas. Yes, it costs more, but to me it's worth it, especially on your air-cooled engines. And I just do it no matter what. It doesn't make a difference. But anyway, check your entire valve. Everything looks good. You see where that seal was wearing on it here, but everything's nice and smooth. And I mean, nothing looks like it's chewed smooth up. And I wipe the seat down itself, which you probably cannot see what I'm doing. All I'm doing, like I said, is checking for debris and make sure that when I put it back together, I'm not getting anything stuck between the valve and the seat where I'm going to booger it up, putting it back together. I getting these off, I just grabbed a regular old pair of, these are kind of ugly pliers, but they seem to do a pretty good job, because all you're doing is getting it off that pedestal. Because it's kind of stuck on there. Well, they must be built that way, because that's also two-piece. And the new ones, like I said, must be either be an upgrade or something. And then there's always garbage underneath the spring, underneath where that thing sat, oil built up there. I found that down here in these, well, the head bolts go on the inside. There's 5, and I was really surprised at how bad there's sediment buildup. And you got to make sure you clean that, because I really didn't look at it the first time. So when your head bolt goes down, and you go to tighten that up, if there's garbage between the bottom of your head bolt, you know what I'm saying, it's on the flat part of it where it actually grabs a hold of the head and pulls it down. If you get garbage in it, that's going to change the torque. It's going to change what it does. And these aluminum heads, they're great and all, but you don't want to stress them any specific way that they don't want to be stressed. And I'd be afraid of cracking them if you had garbage stuck down there, especially if you weren't paying attention. So I cleaned these all back up again. The other head, like I said, I've got it in there, and I'll clean it all up again too. So well, I'm not going to sit there and bore you with this. I'm just going to keep going. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. Now, this is the exhaust one I just pulled out. So it looks pretty much the same, but if I'm not mistaken, let me just pull one of these out. The exhaust is red, sealed, and the intake is black. I don't know. Usually the stems are the same size on the valves. I don't know if that's the case or not. We can get the valve up in there. Oh, I wished I had some neighbor dogs that just sat up there and barked needlessly. Guys, it's not that I'm against dogs. It's not that I don't like dogs. I don't like having to hear, smell, or see the neighbor dogs. I don't even want to get into it. It's not even worth it, guys. I'm just going to shut up right now. All right, that's back in there the way it is. Put your spring back on. Make sure the seat looks good. And put your keepers back in. They did get rid of one dog. I told you that on one of the other videos, but oh my goodness. And we get their cat comes over. My wife takes care of it. And the girl that lives over there ran over him the other day. And my wife, she came up to my wife was checking the mail and said, well, if you see Meathead or Fleabag, whatever his name is this week, you know, would you tell him I ran over him with a car? It's like, I wonder why he was hobbling with just one foot. My wife's been giving him antibiotic. We thought he got in another fight with another cat because he needs brain surgery. I hate to say that. I think that happened to me, but that's what he needs. And that'll stop him from fighting, because there's cats all over. People down the street just bought a house. Their folks live across the street from he's a cop here in town, and they have a daughter that is deathly allergic to cats. And while they were renovating and working in there, they had to keep her away from the sawdust, and there were some other things that they were having trouble with. Well, anyway, there's a lady down the street's got 28 cats or whatever, and one of them just made itself right at home in the house, and started crawling around all over her clothes and some of the stuff they had in there set aside, and started trying to get them food, and so she called the pound dog catcher to come get them. And I don't know if they ever did or not. We thought Meathead had got because we hadn't seen him for a couple of days. And come to find out, she just went ahead and smashed him. You know, why not? All right, I'm done. I'm sorry. I just don't want to keep harping on that, but it's like I wish people would take care of their stuff instead of me having to see or hear it. All right, I did not oil this. I really wanted to do that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these lifters in. I'm going to tighten these bolts down. Obviously, they go in this side here, and I've got to go get oil and filter and put the balancer on, and I'm going to go ahead and put the filter on and then pour the oil in there. And I don't think I showed you this, and don't laugh at me and my welds. All I had was some scrap metal laying around. Yes, it is ugly, but I built this 2 or 3 years ago to pull. I just actually strapped steel that I welded together with an old flux core just to just to make that work. And what that does, let me pick it up and I'll show you. Let me make sure it's not super clean or dirty. And what this thing does, it goes up there. I built it to go around that cam sensor so I didn't have to pull it. Which of course it's out here because of that. I think I told you this, when I pull the motor out of the Avalanche, I'm going to put the sensors that are off that motor onto this. One is, this is a 2000 model, late 2000, early 2001. Everything date coded on is stamped somewhere between August and November of 2000. So I don't know if they consider this a 2000, 2001, doesn't make any difference. That's what it's date coded as. And so some stuff will not work from the 04. I know the oil pressure sender won't, which I bought a new one for it, because not only was this snap, but that one's had garbage in it, I have no doubt, since the oil, if it's lost oil pressure, there's got to be a reason for it. It's cam bearing bad or something, or oil pump itself, it don't make any difference. I'll pull it down someday and we'll look into it. But either way, that's what that's for, is an actual engine puller. So what I'll do is, I'm not going to put it on this, obviously. I might, because I actually put that engine on the stand using this, so that intake's just sitting up there. I may pull that and set it on here to keep this engine clean, or just put the plastic bag back over it. Once the heads are on it, I have to use a bigger trash bag, which I do have one. To keep this thing from getting garbage in. It's been covered up the whole time. But anyway, I'm going to put oil and filter, the lifters, the pusher. Man, I'm getting messed up here. Get the rest of the lifters put in. And then I do not have the crank sensor in, and again, because I'm taking it out of the Avalanche, and I'm not going to put the cam sensor in for the same reason. Oh, good grief, neighbors. Oh, yeah, I need a place out in the country. I need an island. Maybe that's what I need. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm going and then I probably won't get the heads on until tomorrow. I will video at least getting one head on and doing the torque sequence on it, kind of showing you what they recommend and stuff. And that's if I can hold the engine myself. I got a friend of mine who would love to come help me, but his sister come up with cancer, and he's taking her down tomorrow to get a port put in for chemo. And so he's out, and my wife she's helped, but she's got to work too. She's got a full-time job, and I'm on nights right now, so I've got to work around everybody else's schedule. Kind of how it works. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get off here for now instead of just wabbing, and then you'll see me when I start putting the heads on.